Would you like to be 55% more likely to get a pay rise or 84% more likely to get promoted? Well, Google unsurprisingly says that AI might be the answer. I sat down with Google's UK MD, Kate Alessi, to talk about AI adoption in the UK and how it could help us all. I also asked her whether AI will wipe out jobs, whether it's really to blame for jobs that have already been lost, and actually who is getting the benefit from AI. Kate thinks that there are 4 different types of AI user, and if you can get into that top category, trailblazer, it might mean extra cash in your pocket. Here's how our chat went. We're here to discuss the Google Economic Impact Report. And I think probably the least surprising takeaway is that AI adoption has doubled. But I think the fact that it's very uneven, and apparently there are 4 types of Brits that have different AI levels, I think that's quite interesting. So I'd love you to talk a little bit about that.
I mean, you're exactly right. I think we were all pleasantly surprised, but also it feels natural, right? That we have seen AI usage double over the course of the past year. And so what's really interesting, I think, coming out of the report is that it really presents this new challenge for us. It's no longer about how do we drive broad scale awareness of AI and adoption, but really how do we make sure that everyone across the UK is using AI effectively to really unlock personal progression and productivity. And in turn, that will drive economic growth for the country. And so, when we look across the UK, as you mentioned, we identified 4 different cohorts of people in the way that they're using AI. And it ranges from what we call the AI spectators, who are really people who are just sitting back and, really barely using the tools. And that then ranges up to the experimenters who are using it on a more regular basis, but still in a very sort of nascent way, to practitioners who are thinking about how do I actually use this tool on a more regular daily basis to improve the way I'm working, to write drafts of emails, to help start to manage some of their invoicing, and then all the way up to these trailblazers. And those are the people who are really using AI in a deep way to unlock meaningful productivity. And really what's interesting that you see in the report is that it's also starting to unlock this personal career progression for those individuals. And so 15% of the population sits in that top AI trailblazer cohort. And when we look at those individuals, we see they're getting promotions at a higher rate. They're getting pay rises at a higher rate. They're getting positive performance reviews at a higher rate than the people who are not. Exactly. And so that's really what we're focused on, is how do we really move people from being these really sort of nascent users, these spectators, up to being trailblazers. And that's what we're focused on with our skills training.
So where are the bulk of people sitting? Is it in the 2nd or 3rd category?
Yeah, so it's about 15% are sitting in that really early stage spectator beginner bucket. The largest bucket is 38%, who are in that 2nd bucket. And those are the experimenters. But then just behind that, 37% are sitting in that practitioner bucket. And then that top tier, which is really where we'd love everyone to be, is 15%.
The idea of getting more pay rises and better performance reviews, I think everyone wants that. So how do you get into the trail? If you're not a trailblazer yet, how do you progress to become a trailblazer?
Yes. Well, the good news is it's actually quite easy. I think, there was this idea that to be good at AI, you needed to know how to code and, how to write Python and have deep technical skills. The reality is that it's as simple as using voice text to prompt. And so really anyone can move up to that top category. We just need to help show them how to do that. And that's why we've been so focused on our skills training initiatives. We've had digital skills programs for the last 10 years here in the UK. And we've trained 1.2 million Brits across the UK in basic digital skills. And so we recently launched a new program called AI Works for Britain. And that really is focused on helping people understand how to use these AI tools. And so we're going across the UK and doing pop-ups in different community centers and different universities to show people how they can use the basic AI skills and tools that are available to them today with just simple questions they can ask to really start to solve some really challenging problems that they may be facing.
Because I saw in the report, it mentions a divide, it mentions there are regional gaps, it mentions there are age gaps, it mentions there are gender gaps. People already worry a little bit about ageism in hiring. Can you talk a little bit about those gaps, how they've developed, and whether we can actually fix them, or are they sort of just deeply entrenched and there's not much we can do about it?
Yeah, so we do see, early gaps, and they skew as you probably would intuitively believe, where we see, men being more likely to adopt than women, younger people being more likely to adopt than older people. But we believe that everyone can and should become a trailblazer. And so that's why we've been so focused on these skills training programs. The core barriers to becoming sort of more of a trailblazer, some of them are cognitive. And it's really when people sort of think about using AI tools still in the sort of standard search, sort of text box type of mechanism, rather than really thinking about AI as a creative thought partner. So that's one bucket of barriers that we need to help people understand. Another is behavioral, right? People just aren't yet using it as a daily habit. And so how can we help people think about this? Isn't just once a month you go in and use this one tool, but it's really how do you think about this becoming a daily habit and really looking to use AI in different ways to really help solve sort of everyday, day-to-day tasks. And then the third sort of big barrier is around organizational. And how can we make sure that organizations are really encouraging their employees and giving them the permission to use these tools in a productive way? And so when you think about those three barriers between cognitive, behavioral, and organizational, if we can help each of those different barriers be solved in a really clear, productive way, then we think we can raise the AI skills across all demographics, across all genders, across all age cohorts, and really sort of raise up the economic floor for everybody as a result.
We've seen a lot of companies investing money in training people to use AI within companies, but I suppose the hope would be that it could democratize entrepreneurship and help people sort of start their own businesses, or maybe like develop a side hustle that they've got that could then develop into a business. So are you seeing that sort of trend of people using it to start something new or fresh on their own?
Certainly. We see people, starting, new businesses. We see people being able to be more effective in their core businesses by using these tools. You think about, a tradesperson, right? They now can use AI to manage their invoicing in a more effective way, to auto-generate emails for their customers. And so as a result, they're able to take on more business. They can take on more customers. They can branch into new lines of business that previously were sort of unreachable for them in the past. And so we certainly see new businesses being created and existing businesses be more enhanced as a result of people using AI more effectively.
I think that's interesting how you talk about people managing their finances and their business, because I think a lot of people would probably sit at home and think, I'm worried about giving too much information to the AI. They'd have that privacy fear. And so you're able to sort of soothe the concerns that you can use AI for this. You shouldn't worry too much, if you want to have it help you do your taxes, for instance.
Yes. I mean, everything that you put into, Gemini, which is our core AI model and tool, is your own. So we are not using any of your inputs to train our models. And so, you certainly should feel comfortable, using it as a real sort of deep research partner, a creative thought partner to share your information with the tools to really make sure you get the most out of them.
A lot has been made about AI driving job losses, and we've seen lots of people blame AI on, redundancies, people, laying off hundreds or thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of people, saying this is AI's fault. The report seems to suggest that actually it's helping people do more at work. And so I'm interested to see whether you think it's AI is maybe being a little bit scapegoated, and actually it's just market conditions that are leading to these layoffs, and actually AI is just sort of helping people get more done at work.
Yeah.
Or is it wiping out jobs? I don't know. I suspect you would say no, but...
Well, yeah. I think through every major technological shift that's happened, we see a shifting of jobs, and the research shows that 92% of jobs in the UK will either be enhanced or protected as a result of AI. And that's really what we're seeing. We see, as I was just mentioning, many new jobs being created. If you think back before, the evolution of YouTube, as an example, YouTube creators were not a job that existed, but with YouTube, now we have, millions of YouTube creators around the world. And so through every technology shift, we see jobs changing and we see new jobs being created. So, that is really what we're focused on, is making sure that people can understand how to use AI to their benefit to really ultimately help them unlock their own personal progression.
So is that the big benefit? Because I often think about if you're trying to sell AI to someone who maybe doesn't believe in it, what is the big benefit? Maybe even if you just look at specifically the UK, is it going to be for healthcare? Is it going to be job creation? I mean, to you, what is the big thing that should drive people's enthusiasm for it?
Yes. We are seeing significant advances in scientific research already, and for me personally, that is one of the most exciting ways that we see AI driving positive societal benefit. Products like AlphaFold that was developed by Google DeepMind that sits here in London, that's fundamentally changing the way scientific discovery and research happens. We also see significant improvements in terms of the way public services are being offered. We're using AI to help, map rural bus routes. We're using AI to help transport blood from hospitals during busy traffic times here in the UK. So we're using AI to help improve, in partnership with the NHS, improve patient booking systems. So there's a lot of really positive societal and health benefits that we see already happening today, where this technology is being deployed for incredible good for society. So for me personally, that's incredibly exciting. We also see it being an engine to drive incredible economic growth. So we believe, and the research shows, that by 2030, AI will drive about 400 billion pounds of economic growth for the UK. But half of that, 200 billion, is dependent on wide-scale AI adoption. And not just adopting, but also using it to drive clear lines of productivity. And so, that's why we continue to focus so much on the skills training piece, because that becomes critically important, and to get people to really be using these products and tools in a meaningful way to unlock this growth.
I like the mention of DeepMind, because obviously it's a very wonderful British success story.
Yeah.
I think often when we think about AI, we sort of see all of the innovation and we associate it, I think, largely with Silicon Valley. Do you think Britain can be competitive on the AI front?
Yes. I think the UK, of course, with Google DeepMind being here, that's extraordinary to have that company staying here in the UK and continuing to build really responsible AI. And that is core to what we're doing here at Google. But also, the UK has a long history of incredible universities that continue to train and educate people on broad, computer science, research, AI. And so I think that, the UK overall is incredibly well positioned to really benefit through this AI transformation. We have the universities, we have the researchers, we have the companies building these technologies sitting here in the UK. We really just need to make sure that people across the country know how to use these tools to enable sort of this personal progression.
Okay, and I'd love to ask you a personal question, because we recently had a baby and I found Gemini immensely useful for just asking lots of questions about it, nappies and feeding and so on. And so I wonder if you could go back to any year in your life and give yourself Gemini for that year, what year in your life would you pick?
I honestly, you of course suggested this idea, but 2010, when I had my first son, because I do think that that is a moment in your life where you are just filled with questions, and they are really important questions. And those questions come at 2 a.m, where you don't want to call a friend to get the answer, right? So it's actually brilliant to be able to go to a tool like Gemini to get incredible advice during those periods of time.
Great, thank you. Thank you
Yes.
so much for speaking to me. It's
Yes.
really interesting.
Thank you. Wonderful to talk with you.
That's me.
All right, thanks.